Hello, my name is Cody Hall, and this is the Faces Podcast. And today I'm welcoming the Chief Disruption Officer. Not disruption as in changing an industry, but just disrupting an employment place, which is why he's unemployable. He's a serial entrepreneur and a man who's both owned coffee shops and founded VC firms. Now he's focusing on helping others achieve their entrepreneurship journey. Welcome, Allan from Greenville, South Carolina, and let's get started. Allan, sir, how you doing today?
Great. I'm not in a desert. No one's shooting at me, so life is good.
I am in a desert. However, no one's shooting at me. And so at least I'll take that win. All right. I have my AC blasting in my little room. Where are you located, Allan? Where out of?
I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. Actually, now is the number one city that everybody's moving to in the United States.
Man, and before we get to the introduction, Greenville, I remember, so I'm from Charlotte originally. And so I was there when we opened up the Apple store and everything in Greenville. And so, I used to work for Apple team for the North Carolina and South Carolina team. And, man, I remember when Greenville was just a drive-through city. Like you just drove through it on your way to Atlanta. Right.
Absolutely.
And now it's a stop. It's along the way. Watch out, Columbia.
Yep. 95 new people a day moving to the city.
95 new people a day. Yeah. I live in Cabo now, so Cabo, Mexico. And so only thing we get 95 of is 95 people coming and going on vacation. Right. And so if you ever hit our airport right now, I hate traveling right now during the season because I don't care what you got planned, you are going to be hanging on customs. And so it's going to happen. You're going to get in the custom line as soon as you land. Oh, well, before we go too crazy, sir, please tell me a little bit more about yourself. Who's Allan and tell the audience who we're talking with here today.
I am a Vetrepreneur, so used to jump out of perfectly good airplanes. So I joke around that I'm certified to be an entrepreneur. And been a serial entrepreneur for about 35 years. Owned everything from coffee shops to gaming stores to fencing academies. I joke around that I'm unemployable. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And over the last 4 years, I have jumped headfirst into the tech and VC space. And prior to that, I was a retired fencing coach that beat kids with metal sticks.
I like it. I like not the beating the kids with metal sticks, legally beating kids with metal sticks. Okay. So that's what's important here. We don't condone child abuse unless it's with a metal stick on a fencing. So there we go. No, that's great. So thank you for your service as well. I was a Marine at one point in time.
Right? So I've got a quick question. What is your favorite flavor of crayon?
That's tough. It's tough. I like yellow, right?
Okay.
And so I'm not a big red. It stays in your teeth too long, right? And so, my son, his is also red too. And I know he's going to be a Marine. And so I'm just hoping for him to be an officer at least. If he's going to have crowns, let it be the name brand kind, right? And so, that's funny. And for all those who don't know.
Thank you for your service as well. So.
No, I appreciate you. And for all those who don't know, Marines are commonly referred to as crown eaters because there is a stigma that maybe we're not the smartest. And I will say there is a population that may make up a greater majority of our Marine Corps than the rest of the service members that is dense. And so, so we need people who are going to run at gunfire. Okay. And we don't need thinkers. And so, no, that's great. And I appreciate you being a serial entrepreneur and everything and kind of being everything. I myself, very, very similar to you. And, jumping out of airplanes, you made me remind of a statement I said once to one of my earliest, ventures in entrepreneurship with a company called Bambi HR. Right. I was just starting off and I looked at the CEO and I said, I want the jump out of the plane version of a job in the civilian world. And he's like, let's jump out of a plane. Right. And I'm like, and was he not wrong? And I'm still falling. So tell me, like, kind of what, be unemployable, also I'm a horrible employee. Lily just said that this week to somebody. So tell me, like, what makes you not employable? Like, what about you is this like, I just can't work for somebody or work for a company. I'm not good at it.
I would say that it's based on the fact that being goal driven to achieve something and then not wanting to kind of rest on my laurels or want to say, okay, the job is done. I guess I can, you know, fluff off, be lazy, take advantage of a paycheck. That's just not who I am.
Oof.
I am also one of those people that believe if you've done it, you deserve credit for it. Sometimes in the corporate world, you'll do a great job for somebody and someone takes credit for it. I dealt
Sure.
with a lot of homeless veterans in another business that I had. And, when I would talk to guys as far as why they had a hard time keeping a job, they would tell me, if somebody didn't give them the proper training, they would, yell at them because they didn't accomplish the job. And as you well know in the military, you'll do and train on the same thing about 100 times before they actually, let you do it for real. Or they would do a great job and then somebody else that was a civilian would take credit for it. And that would also piss them off. So that's kind of, and if somebody's doing something wrong, as my wife is fond of telling me, I'm not capable of keeping my mouth shut. So I will sit there and
Sure.
say, that's messed up. That's incorrect. You need to do it this way. And, I get well, we did it this way yesterday. This is the way we do it today. And this is the way we will continue to do it tomorrow. To which point I'm like, okay, just because you were stupid yesterday doesn't mean that you need to continue
Don't
being
got
stupid today.
don't got to carry it over. No, I mean that you said so many things there that are just very important to our line of work as a staffing organization. So we're a virtual staffing business, and I
Oh, okay.
tell you, so we provide virtual staff from Mexico. And if I had $1 for every time that someone says, "All right, we are hired, Allan. So Allan, do the job. Just do it." Like, what do you want me to do? We should do marketing. Like whatever marketing is, I want you to just do the marketing thing. You do social media, this thing here. And people don't train anybody anymore. They don't want to train anybody anymore.
Right.
And so, and if you're a veteran, right, you're so used to training. I mean, the truth be told is if we're not actually killing people or breaking their
Yep.
stuff, we're training to do it.
Training to do that.
Right.
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
there and there's people who your entire I'm lucky to be in a time of the military where there was plenty of stuff to kill and break, right? But I mean, think about the 90s,
Right.
right? I mean, the 90s,
That
we had
that was that was me. Yep.
yeah, your job was to train to do things. And then like you get out like, hey, listen, I want you to do marketing and stuff. You're like, you're not going to train me? I don't
Right.
know. Right? What do
Yep.
you want me to do? So no, I mean, that's a very, and then you say the vocalization portion, huge thing, and then the getting the credit. I think so much of what you said is the outcomes of what would be considered bad leadership and the inputs of what would be great leadership.
Mhm.
You want someone who's going to train you. You want someone who's going to recognize you. You want someone who wants to hear your input. Oh my goodness. I sometimes it kills me, but my team won't stop sharing their opinion. Right.
Right.
And so, and I sometimes I know that I could get more praise if I'm just like, you know what? Paulina did this, but the client doesn't know Paulina did this. Hey, Allan, I did all that for you and it was great. No worries. No, man, I'll do it anytime you want for me. It's easy to do that, and it takes away like what people perceive to be their praise, but you
Mhm.
forget, you need to highlight your team. You need to go back to your
Oh,
team and tell them.
absolutely.
So much of what you said is just the veteran just coming along, you just coming along and bucking the system where there are places to buck.
Yep. That's why,
No,
everybody kind of calls me the chief disruption officer. It's like, okay. It's like, what are you doing? I just disrupt things all day long. It's like, that's wrong. Go fix it. They're like, yeah, but that's really going to piss somebody off. Oh, well, then they deserve to be pissed on. So,
I'm so glad you said that because when I read your profile originally, I almost didn't say yes to you because I saw Chief Disruption Officer and not because of what you said. I think that's hilarious. I hate when people use disruption as a positive. Oh, I'm a disruptor. Oof, calm down. No one wants you to disrupt anything, right? There are people, Amazon,
yep.
Facebook, and people Tesla will come in and change an industry and the
Yep.
world, right? Disruption. Think about how many companies went out of business because of those people, right?
Mhm.
Good outcomes, tough process for a lot of people, and we enjoy what they give us today. However, disruption for me when I used to be, I'm in the private equity space. When someone says, I'm a disruptor, my company's going to change everything the way we do, I immediately say no to them. Don't say disruption to me. Next, that's a no for that investment. Speaking of investment, you were just saying as you came on that you were talking about securing an investment for one of your people.
Yep.
Talk to me about it. And you say you jumped into the VC space, and now we're skipping a couple things along the way. I'm going to skip the coffee shop. Great.
Okay.
However, get to the investment portion here. Like, so you're VCing it up now?
Yeah. So we started Launchpad Tech Ventures, which was taking people in the ideation phase of, hey, I've got a great idea. Great. Everybody's got a great idea. We're going to teach you how to execute, actually build the company. I was blessed to go through Founder University with Jason Calacanis, so learned how to do all the things. And then being in the tech desert of South Carolina, was like, hey, okay, we're going to find people who have a great idea, people that say, hey, there's got to be a better way to do things. And one of the people going through our current cohort is doing something with elections. As you know, in social media, half the country wants to kill the other half of the country right now. Half of them are, crazy. The other half think they're okay. And, pick a side of the bird. It doesn't
And then
matter.
the opposite.
Exactly. So this individual was like, I want to create an application that allows people, no matter how much money you have or how little influence you have the ability to run a campaign with AI to basically have good campaign ads, not bashing your opponent, and make it affordable so that, you can have good content and generate it, whether or not you have a war chest of $5 million or $500.
Yeah.
And the person that he announced today that he got as his first investor is Andrew Yang, who ran, as a 2020 presidential candidate.
I was about to say,
Had
I
the
swear I
Venture
know
for
who Andrew Yang
America.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a big, huge thing as he made the post in our little circle community. Hey, I've got my lead investor. And he put his name up there. I was like, you're bullshitting me, right? And he was like, no, really. Here's the safe agreement and the note and our valuation. I was like, holy crap. I was like, you haven't even graduated yet.
That's stellar. I mean, so would you consider yourself an incubator, an accelerator, both?
So that's a huge debate. So I kind of think of us as an incubator, because, we're taking them and going, okay, this is how you play the game, kind of, the wild animal coming out of the woods so it can grow and then accelerate. I've been through a couple of accelerators, like, Y Combinator and Techstars, but because we weren't injecting capital into them initially, I really didn't want to mislead people and go, oh, we run an accelerator. Because most people go,
Yeah.
oh, accelerator, you're writing a check and you're taking equity.
Yeah.
Which then pushed me into the whole VC world because people are like, well, why don't you raise a fund instead of going around and convincing funds to invest in your folks? And I'm like, I don't know the first thing about running a fund. I have an accounting degree. I joke around that I'm a recovering accountant. I said, but it's one of those things where I wouldn't know the first thing about it. And then people said, well, you've been through accelerators. I was like, yeah. They're like, well, they have those for VC. There's this group called the Decile Group. VC Labs, actually, Adeo created the SAFE agreement that everybody uses today. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I could get in. And then I had two individuals write me some referral letters that are big in the tech space. And they took it, the referrals. They're like, normally this is a 5-stage process, but because you have these two referrals, we really don't want to tell those people that we told you no. So yeah, you're in. So I've now gone through the VC Labs program. And I'm happy to say that for the first time, I believe in history, a San Francisco Silicon Valley fund has been the first investor in our South Carolina fund. So money's going in the opposite direction for once.
Right. It's flowing against the current. Normally it goes west. That's great. No, I mean, and I'm biased. I operate a small private equity fund that I funded after a previous exit with a partner of mine. So we have about 11 different holdings right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we operate that, but it's a private fund, not
Right.
other
Yep.
people's money. It's our money, right?
Gotcha.
And so, and I got that idea because a previous investor, and set off billionaire, right? You know, someone was having a conversation with him once when I was next to him, of why he doesn't have a fund, why he raises per investment, and it's just a regulatory pool, right? And so
Yep.
you start managing other people's money, like the oversight that takes place, you can't see the ceiling of that. The oversight's so high, right?
Yep.
But if you're doing it per round, like, oh, I'm pulling together an LLC that's going to invest into 15% of this company's IPO. Like, let's jump on this train, right?
Yep.
And so that's really cool. And so what do you focus on? You have a certain you
Yeah.
obviously have
So we have our
some sort of thing
thesis.
here.
So,
Yeah.
yep. Our thesis is we are raising a $5 million fund that is investing in South Carolina companies that have gone through our program and are part of our Ignite shared resources uh, program for companies that specialize in B2B, AI, or SaaS that are tech centric and scalable.
No, but so we're talking South Carolina based IT AI type companies.
Yep.
I love it, and that's great because South Carolina needs it. It needs an
Yep.
AI like injection, right?
We found out there's a side benefit that I hadn't even thought of, the kind of the law of unintended consequences. We have a bunch of people in New York City that were investing in the fund, and I was like, there's plenty of opportunities for you to invest in, pre-seed startups in New York City. Why would you invest in a fund in South Carolina? They were like, well, if I give $100,000 to a startup in New York City, he's got runway for about 3 months. I
Yeah,
give $100,000 to a startup in South Carolina, he's got runway for a year. And I was like,
correct.
oh, I hadn't thought about that. And he goes, and my experience with startups is the person who's got the longest runway is usually the one that wins the race. And
Yeah,
I was like, huh. I said, having a couple of tech companies myself, I can understand that. So they're like, so I look at you guys as the, Filene's bargain basement. So I can invest in somebody in South Carolina and get the
that's
best
funny.
deal.
No, I mean, and that makes sense. That's why I ran a healthcare company out of LA that serviced, many counties outside of Los Angeles County, but other states as well. So I moved it to Nevada. That's how I ended up in Las Vegas, because I'm like,
Gotcha.
why run a remote company that's supporting healthcare remotely throughout the United States out of California, right?
Right.
I'm gonna run out of money so quick. And so,
California's
I
got
mean,
enough money. They don't need any of your own.
correct. Well, the biggest thing is entrepreneurship. It's just really about how much can you fail before failing,
Yep.
right? And so, I tell people all the time, it's all about making mistakes. Mistakes are fine.
Oh, yeah.
Teams make mistakes all the time. It's about not making that mistake, right? That one mistake that breaks you. Like, that's the one you generally want to try to avoid. The hard part is you can't avoid it by avoiding mistakes, right?
Right.
So you just kind of have to be smart about stupid decisions, because sometimes we're the most, as I used to always say, who's the least unqualified? All right,
Mhm.
you're the team, or you're now the chief marketing officer because you're the least unqualified chief marketing officer that we
Yep.
have on the startup. And that, I mean, that's a great reason to go to South Carolina. You're stretching the dollar, which I can relate with, as we're in Mexico as a virtual staffing company. People hire us because you can get a person with a master's degree in marketing for $2,000 a month, right?
Yep.
And you're going to stretch your dollar versus hiring someone who costs you 70 grand a year in the United States. And
Yep.
then, so I mean,
We have,
all about that dollar.
and we do have one superpower.
What's that?
So all of the companies that go through our cohort, if they have their headquarters located in our building, they have their headquarters in a qualified opportunity zone. And if you know anything about taxes, it
Yeah.
means that in 10 years, when they have an exit, they pay zero capital gains tax to the IRS.
Yeah.
And we spent a ton of money with attorneys, and they were like, yep, not only is what you guys doing with tech companies legal, but you are literally the only people in the entire United States that is providing this opportunity for tech companies in an opportunity zone, which we find that was kind of neat. And we've had a bunch of conversations with bunch of other VCs that have a portfolio, and they're like, all right, let me understand this, why I'm about to take 500 companies that are in our portfolio and tell them your headquarters is no longer San Francisco. Your headquarters is now Greenville, South Carolina.
Correct. I mean, there's so many ways people don't think about the tax side of things. And, I'm a principal at an accounting firm, so I'm a portion of
Oh,
accounting firm.
okay. There you go.
And
Yep.
so I'm an accountant by education and I know more, but I'm not an accountant by practice. And so one thing that saved me a ton is I was a co-founder of a company that's selling right now. I was in the earlier years of the organization, but it's selling now for a little over, I think it's like 109, $110 million.
Oh,
Right. And
congratulations.
so, the great thing about that is I have an 81B. Right.
Yeah.
And
There you
so
go. Yep.
I am tax free up to $5 million. Right.
There you go.
And you sit there at the time and the CFO who brought that to us is like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And, we're just in 81B. And there I am, at like 26 years old, 81B, whatever. Like
Yep.
you're sitting here, you're like, I'm going to make $5 million in my butt. Right. I'm going to sign whatever, throw it away. 'Cause you're so far away from the exit in the
Yep.
beginning that you don't think about the exit. And and some people are so far away from profitability that they don't think about the profit. Right.
Yep.
And then you're sitting there with a tax bill. You're like, oh man, why didn't I plan for this?
Yep.
Right? Why am I paying 100,000? I remember I did an exit, and one of our partners, she didn't plan. Like she was still living in Concord, California, living the Northern California life. I did an exit and hunky dory. Tax season comes around. She owed $650,000. Yep, her husband had to sell his Lamborghini. So,
Oh, tough life.
not the Lamborghini, right? And so, but you're sitting there. It just sometimes. So I've always been a person who's like, I generally don't try to touch anything or spend anything or do much of it without putting it into the right vehicles until I've paid my taxes on it, right? Because I want to make sure that no surprises have taken place, and even if I've calculated the taxes, right, I'm sitting around and I'm like, I didn't need the money yesterday. I don't need it tomorrow. Right. I'm going to wait until I settle all that I owe, and then I'll put it in the correct vehicle where I can't touch it anymore. Because
Yep.
as soon as you can't touch it or as soon as you spend it, it's gone. And then
Yep.
you'll be like, hey, by the way, you owe us money.
Yep. It's like, you need to tell me that before I spend it all.
Correct. No, I think that's great. And I love that Greenville is being this opportunity zone. Right. And I love that it's, having 99 people like move there every day. And so, so much of the Southeast. Well, the good news is we really have to thank places like California and New York for ruining their
Oh,
states.
absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So this right here is a moment that we'll take to appreciate all of you who destroyed your states. And so now you're going to try to move to the other states and destroy them.
Yep.
And please don't do that. Right.
No,
I saw a
we tell
t-shirt.
them, leave your politics at the door. There's a reason you're moving to the state that you were in. You come here, leave your card at the door. So
My brother has a t-shirt that says, don't California my Utah. Right.
Yep.
And so it's because, we're from Carolinas as well, but he lives in Utah. Like, just you're leaving it for a reason.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
So I'm super happy for Greenville. That's awesome. When we're talking about your graduation and how your companies are going through your program, how long is your company? How long in the program, and generally, what does it take to be participating?
So for us, it's a 12-week program. They are in person for 2 hours once a week. The rest of the curriculum and everything is self-paced online in a community. And then when they apply to be in the program, I basically ask them 3 questions. One is, tell me how you get to $10 million in annual recurring revenue in 5 years. If everything was right, you had a good MVP, you had a good product, and listen to them. I joke around, God gave me one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. So I sit there and listen to them talk and explain how they're going to do this and why they think it's going to work. Then I go, okay, well, if that's the case, then in 10 years, can you tell me how you can get to $100 million in annual recurring revenue? And I listen to them explain about all the different partnerships, the pain points, what people are looking for, how they're going to sell it, what the business model that they're kind of thinking that they're going to have, and listen to them. And then if both of those questions go right, then my final question is, well, what are you willing to sacrifice? And how many times are you willing to get punched in the mouth to bring this thing into reality? Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. Kind of like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until somebody punches you in the
Punch you in the
face.
face.
The best combat plan in the world lasts the first 30 seconds of contact. So, I want you to explain to me hardships that you've had in your life where you have been lied to, disappointed, stabbed in the back, where you now can go, okay, I'm ready to be an entrepreneur if they haven't already been an entrepreneur before. And providing those three things hit the check boxes, then I'm like, great. We start in 3 weeks, let's get you onboarded.
I like so much of that. And I think the third one is what sticks out with me the most, right? I don't think anybody is willing to start over, right? And I say anybody, I say a very small group of people, right? When I left my CEOship and I resigned from the company I started,
Yep.
right? I was making $500,000 a year, right? I had a great salary. I really enjoyed myself, right? And so,
Yep.
and then I left that job to make no money, right? To start a new company from bootstrap. And I didn't think anything of it because I'm stupid. I'm a Marine. I eat yellow crowns, remember? Like for me, it's like, this sounds like a great idea. I'm going to do this. My wife's like, whatever. Right. Let's do it, Lord Cody. Right. And
Yep.
so, but I find that that's the hard part. I think many people can BS a $10 million plan in 5 years. Maybe they'll come up with a really great one. Like, that sounds sound. $100 million plan is like, okay, it's a stretch, but it's good. But hey, listen, are you willing to stop being paid? Are you
Yep.
willing to go back to being the CEO of everything, the chief executive officer of all things, right? And I think that for some entrepreneurs, super tough,
Yep.
humbling to do so.
Yeah. And, I talk to a lot of people that, have gone into the program that, they've worked in corporate America. They've collected a W-2, they really haven't had to what I call eat the ramen noodle and sweat payroll the next day because everything is already in an established company. And I say, what are you going to do when your forecast isn't hit and somebody goes, hey, you don't have enough payroll to pay the 20 people that you've got coming in here that believe in you as the leader, that they're going to get paid, that they got to turn around to their kid and go, okay, well, you're not getting a birthday party that you want, or you're not getting that Christmas present that you've been planning on. Can you handle that type of responsibility? And if the answer is no, then brother, this is not for you. So, I mean, there's a lot of great services that you can do working for other people, and by all means, go do it. But understand that you're about to jump off the cliff and you're going to be building the airplane as you're falling before you
Bolting
hit
on the
impact.
wings, baby,
Yep.
as you take off.
I joke around with people. Jumping out of airplanes is perfectly safe. It's that sudden stop at the bottom that's a bitch.
Yeah,
So,
actually, no one's ever died from skydiving. They die from
right.
hitting the ground. Right?
Exactly.
And
You
so
are 100%
that's the
correct.
thing.
Yep.
So it's so funny you say that because I recently saw an interview with Bill Gates' daughter, and she was saying, people always they see Bill Gates, they're like, oh my God, this man, he's just such a billionaire, right? He has all this money, he's made it. She's like, but my dad told me once, like during the 90s, when he was sitting there, like when Microsoft was really booming, like
Yep.
things were rolling crazy, and he was on People magazine, Forbes, everything. He used to stay up all night driving back and forth across the Bay Bridge, right? Because he had so much anxiety about the growth that was taking place. And he's like, well, what if like the money stops? Like, what if
Right.
something happens and like I got all these people to pay? And for me, I think I have more anxiety today about my 19 employees, right? Because I know all their names, right?
Right.
And so, like, you talk to, the ones that you talk to every day. And then I was about when we had like 350, right? Because we had
Yep.
350, you're like, that's a lot of people. Or I
Yeah.
don't
It's
know
like,
all
who are
those
you
people.
again? What's your name?
Right. And and I remember the same thing when I worked for, when I started my Octavia, my healthcare company, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, I have all these nurses. And I think the average child count at my company was 3 because we employed mostly
Wow.
moms. And
Right.
so like, some people with 5, some people with 1, but the average was 3. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, okay, cool. We have 25 employees, but we represent over 80 mouths at the
Yep.
company. right? And I've said that, and that company doesn't know, but there are days where I pay payroll, right?
Yep.
Like I pay payroll, right? Months
Yep.
that I went without getting paid. And that, Kevin Costner said it recently, on an interview once. And, funny, an actor says, like, you're not an entrepreneur until you've sweated payroll, until you've worried
Yep.
about your people not eating. Like, that's an entrepreneur. And that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Man, I mean, that's a conversation. I'm glad you have this conversation with people early on. And I think that's why I enjoy these conversations with people here at the podcast, because, if you're watching this and you're like, well, I'm an accountant or a lawyer and I want to start my own firm or break out my own and start my own application. Like, what does that look like? Well, it looks like things can get really bad sometimes. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
and I,
Don't read the LinkedIn post where you're like, oh, I got an idea and I launched an AVP and someone gave me $30 million to go, scale
up
something.
into the,
Like
up
that,
into the
that,
right.
that is fantasy land beyond belief. It's like they are lying to you. It's like, the three greatest lies in the world. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. And I won't say the other two because it's, try to keep it
that,
family friendly.
that is the scariest thing you can hear. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
Yep.
Right. That's where you shut your door. No,
Yep.
it's interesting. I just got back from Puerto Rico because I went there for a wedding, and one of my good buddies who I used to work at Apple with, he's always had a side business. He takes apart bikes that he
Oh,
buys online and he sells them. He inventories them. And I've never seen someone so meticulous and organized. Like you show him a 2009 Suzuki 1000, he'll tell you how much he can make off that, how much he'll pay
oh,
it for.
wow.
Like,
Okay.
he got it down to a science, right? Out of Charlotte.
Yep.
And so, but, I'm saying, like, wow, I really want to start a business I want to invest in a business with him because I want to start a painting
Right.
business, right? I own a portion of a company that does accounting for painting businesses. And I really love painting businesses. They are very profitable ventures,
Huh.
right?
Okay.
And I'm like, the issue with me is I'm not going to paint, right? I
Right.
need someone who's going to do the operations. It's not
Yep.
me. And I was talking to him about it, and I told him, like, Jared is his name. I'm like, Jared, you just have to be willing to, like, roll up the sleeves and go at it, right? You talk about starting over. I was like, there was a point in time where my wife and I, Teresa, we had about $5,000 in our pocket, right? And so, after leaving my well-paying job and everything, hadn't had an exit yet, right?
Right.
Funny enough,
Yep.
all my exits happened after I quit my job. Things started selling, right? Thank you. So, but I'm sitting there with $5,000 in the bank account. One business and a restaurant that are, they're profiting, but they're not paying the bills, right?
Right. Yep.
And, that's what you have to sign up for. You have to sign up for that tight moment.
Yep.
If you're not signing, if you're signing up for the far to the right, the $100 million business, entrepreneurship is not your thing. You sound like a
Yep.
W-2. Stick with the W-2, my man. It's okay.
Yep. Somebody's got to say, would you like fries with that? So,
And listen, and there's no problem with it. There's
nope.
absolutely zero shame. Entrepreneurship.
I joke around. I think the starting salary right now for a manager at a Taco Bell is like $100,000.
Yeah. Correct. Right. It's correct. And the people, I pay myself a reasonable salary in accordance to the IRS code for S corporations. Don't
Yep.
audit me. Right. And so, all right. And, it's not what I used to get paid. Right. I
Right.
used to make a lot more money being an employee. Right. And my wife herself said, because recruiters reach out to me all the time. Why don't you work for these people? They'll pay me a lot more money. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I'm broken. Right.
Yep. Nope.
I don't.
I
want.
resemble that remark. Yep.
Yeah, maybe I'm broken, but that sounds horrible, right? And so I just don't want to do it. I think I've only worked for one person that I've actually enjoyed working for, and everything else I have to wake up every day and bite my tongue and not get fired. Right? I'm like, all right, got a mortgage today. We're not going to share our thoughts. We're going to make it through
Yep.
the day. We're going to do our job. Let's do this. Don't get
Do
fired.
this
Don't
thing.
get
I
fired.
get the
Don't get
paycheck
fired.
at the end of the month or the end of the week.
Oh yeah, no. Oh well, Allan, tell me a little bit. Got all this talk about the entrepreneur side. On the personal side, family man, what do you do for fun? Talk to me outside of the world that is entrepreneurship.
So, I am married to my college sweetheart. We were together, but then we were separated for 22 years and then, reconnected. And, we joke around that, she had, other marriages. I had other marriages, and I joke around with her that we broke up when I went into the military in college because I didn't want to get the Dear John letter. And the big joke is because I've been through the other relationships, it makes me appreciate her all that much more. She goes, well, you dumbass,
Valid.
if you had just married me to begin with, you wouldn't have gone through everybody else. I was like, okay, depends on how you look at the perspective. But she's my number one supporter. We have 3 kids that are all grown between us. They all live their own separate lives. None of them are entrepreneurs. They have W-2 jobs. One works at UMass. One works as an engineer. The other one's a stay-home mom. They have their various lives. So we joke around. We have our 2 fur babies, Odin and Luna. Right now we're planning on looking at buying some land in Montana.
Oh,
We went and spent a couple of weeks in Bozeman and Livingston, last year, fell in love with it. So I used to build shipping container homes for homeless vets. So, I joke around that I want to buy about 10 acres of land, outside of Butte, which is, west of Bozeman, and have self-sustaining, places that I can go to 5 months out of the year. And as long as I have Starlink, and Elon doesn't stop inventing things, I have access to be able to do online training, answer people's questions, and then go outside and, turn off all kinds of technology when I don't want to. So,
I love that. No, that's, and like that, there would be something you said about Bozeman, all that beautiful area, just like
yep,
it's breathtaking. And so, and I like the part about the wife thing. I oftentimes look at my wife, both of us married before, right?
yep,
I have 2 divorces on my belt. I'm in the
yep.
Marine Corps. What do you
She
expect?
she she jokes around that I'm her favorite husband. I joke around that she's my favorite wife. So,
You have to. And I tell you what, I tell my wife, I said, man, like what I would not have given to like met you younger, right? I'm like, I could have avoided all this thing, but the truth be told is those other wives, they took a bullet for her. To be honest with you,
yep.
like
Oh yeah,
there was some edges that needed to be rounded off, right? And some energy diluted before I was like Cody. And it's funny enough, and the producer's probably laughing as she's listening to this. I am this is me calm. Like this is the
yep.
calm version of me. And
Yep,
so
I
the
joke around.
idea,
This is the more mature, calm version of Blake. My
this is
my
the
my
mature
my
version.
nickname in the military, to give you any type of reference, was Lieutenant Ballistic. So,
Oh man, that's
yep,
hilarious.
I
Yeah.
joke around that I was a real smart E5 before I became a dumb second lieutenant. So,
I think the funniest thing that was quoted during my paddle party, I was at Marine Corps reconnaissance, since you get the paddles and everything. And one of my Sag Mages, my sergeant majors, he's like, Hall will do whatever you need a Marine to do, right? He's just going to complain about it the entire time.
he'll
He'll
do
do
it,
it.
but you're going
He'll
to hear
do it.
about it
But
every
the
minute of every day.
entire time, he's going to complain the entire time. And my wife, she gets tired of me complaining. But no, Allan, no, absolute pleasure having you on. And I really appreciate you being here. I love what you're doing with not only being a veteranpreneur, but also with your playing your role in reinvigorating the South Carolina economy towards technology and investing in your locality. That's a beautiful thing. And so it's been awesome having you on. And so the last thing I usually like to, finish up with, if you had one piece of advice to anyone listening who's thinking about being an entrepreneur, what would that advice be? Dude, you're a
So
great
think
person to
of
ask.
my quote that I tell everybody in our first week of every class is always think outside of the box, because the box looks like a coffin and it's where dreams go to die. So,
I love, I love it. I love it. Well, sir, we're going to cut off here, but it's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you today, and looking forward to stay connected.
well, I appreciate the time to tell my story, and it's been great meeting you. Would love to host you up in
Hey,
Greenville. So you and the wife, let us know when you come up and we'll show you the
Char-
town.
Charlotte is always my layover because my family's there. So I
Yep.
usually pick it on my way when I go to conferences. It's where I land. So I will have to make South Carolina my option as well.
Okay, appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Allan. Thank you for watching The Faces. Entrepreneurs are people too. Please like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Spotify so you do not miss any of our content just like today. We really appreciate you being one of our viewers, and see you soon.